One of the unique things we've done in my survey book to address student understanding of business is we've introduced a metric approach throughout the textbook. But we think the notion of introducing students to metrics, how the transactions affect metrics, different types of metrics throughout the textbook, is a very valuable tool for teaching students who are non-accounting majors, non-business majors, what is going on with accounting and how accounting and transactions affect their business. The way we do this is we look at metrics from a transactional standpoint and from a financial statement standpoint. So there are two types of metrics or analyses we're looking at here. For example, in chapter number 2, where we start introducing transactions, we're actually using a cash basis. We use two metrics there, two classifications of metrics when we look at a transaction. So every transaction then looks at after every transaction, we look at the impact of that transaction on basic metrics, and the two types of metrics we look at are liquidity metrics and profitability metrics. So if you're running a business, there are two things you really got to focus on in running a business, and those two things are, am I liquid? Do I have liquid assets? And two, am I profitable? And so every time we have a transaction, what we do is we say, okay, what is this impact of this transaction on liquidity and profitability, using different metrics throughout the textbook. So students are exposed to a whole variety of different metrics. So for example, in chapter 2, the basic liquidity metric, we go from simple to complex, very basic liquidity metric for a transaction is cash. So here's a transaction, how did it impact my cash? Did my cash go up or down? By how much? And the profitability metric we use in chapter 2, again, very simple, is just net income. So profitability, how did it affect my net income? Each transaction we show and analyze its recording in terms of accounting equation, and the financial statements, our integrated financial statement framework, we also show the impact in terms of the metrics we're using in that chapter. So then we go to chapter number 3, where we introduce accrual accounting. The liquidity metric there turns out to be quick assets. What is quick assets? Well, it's cash and receivables. And now the profitability metric is net income accrual basis, because we're using accrual accounting, not cash accounting, cash basis. And so every time we have a transaction, we look and say, okay, here's the transaction, we recorded it using integrated financial statement framework, but how did it affect my business? How did it affect how I run my business? And then at the end of each chapter, we have a financial statement level metric analysis where we look at the impact on financial statements as a whole. And we actually have that with the managerial section too. So in the managerial section of the textbook, we talk about metrics in terms of decision making and performance analysis. Some instructors may not want to cover metrics, so we include the metrics in separate boxes. So if you're not sure that you want to teach this method, then you can actually skip over the metrics pretty easily. And then the end of chapter also, we have a separate metric analysis section, metric-based analysis section, where we have separate end of chapter materials. So if you wanted to assign your regular materials, that's fine. And so that's the notion of metric-based analysis of transactions and financial statements that we introduce in our survey book.